Nice.
That's better, isn't it? I mean, more to the point. Boy.
15 seconds to launch.
You sure you want to do this today?
We can call it all.
Okay.
Places, please. 5 seconds.
Adjust your mojo.
You are about to participate in a great adventure.
Now.
At age, 60, he's just gonna break bad?
Radio with an attitude.
This system that we love is broken.
I know that.
Do not comply.
Hey, mother.
Welcome to another 2 hours of common sense.
That liberty and justice for all is a myth.
And erratic behavior.
You want to, but you can't. And when you do, you wish you didn't.
This is your Daily MoJo.
All right, there, pop quiz, hot shot. Are you ready?
What? Hit it.
Tell me what Women's History Month, Pride Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month all have in common.
I got it, Brad. I got it.
What is it?
They're no longer celebrated at the DOD or in the Pentagon.
That is exactly right. It's amazing that we've been able to get this much done in so short a time. But Pete Hegseth gave them all the axe. Identity months are dead at the DOD, according to the memo that was circulated. Apparently this was done on Friday. Under the new guidance, components of the Department of Military are barred from using official resources to include man hours. Just man hours?
I hear what you're saying.
What about woman hours? To host celebrations or events, service members and civilian employees will still be able to observe these months or participate in related events on their own time. Thank you for some common sense returning to our government. And here's the thing that, well, then they're all screaming in their individual camps. But if you, where do you draw the line? Where do you say, all right, we're going to celebrate this month, but not that month?
Well, you can't. I mean,
exactly. Can't. So don't do any of them.
Yep.
For crying out loud, why do we have, how did we get so, well, I know how we got so mired in all this muck. For years, decades even, we allowed it to happen. We finally, though, woke up. We woke up one day in a big way. The giant has awakened, and hopefully we're not going to go to sleep. We've awakened. We have turned on the shower. We're getting into it. It is, by the way, they were fast over there, weren't they? It's National Shower with a Friend Day. Just excellent. Wow. It sounds like we're. Wow. Are you guys is the water warm? I don't know who's in there, but it's a did I mention it's a National Shower with a Friend Day?
Yep.
Just
what the hell was that?
I don't know, but I think that we should probably cut them off.
Before it gets crazy up in there.
Before it gets really crazy in there. That was not Caroline Levitt, was it?
I see what you're doing.
I mean, it could have been. It could have been, but it probably wasn't. It's something else too. What is it? National? We can celebrate those. I mean, that's fine to celebrate National Shower with a Friend Day. It is also Chocolate Fondue Day, and ironically, the egg beater was patented on this day in 1884 by Willis Johnson of Cincinnati. And I say ironically because eggs just got a whole lot more expensive, and to the point where Waffle House is charging, what is it, 50 cents?
50 cents more per egg. Yeah.
Per egg?
Per egg. That's what the story said.
So how much, like for an omelet, is it $1 more? mean, I
That's
guess
a
if
good
you
question.
get a 3 egg
Yeah.
omelet, it's another $1.50.
$1.50.
All
Yeah.
because of the damn bird flu.
Which really apparently wasn't there. I mean, that's what, didn't that, what's her name? Fong? Didn't she get fired? She's the one that started all that bird
Oh, that's
flu
right. The
killing
Fong
out.
firing.
Yeah.
Forgot about her.
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but what's her name? Fei Fong. She got fired from the USDA.
Yeah.
She was the one who
She's the
refused
one
to leave
Yep,
her
and
office
got
and had
drug
to
out.
be escorted out of the building.
Yeah. Apparently
Not-
she's the
not
one
to
that
say we've
told us to kill all the chickens.
So wait a minute. She is at the heart of this. So she was able to
That's
wreak havoc among our breakfast
Yes.
favorites.
Yeah. That's what I
prior
heard.
to leaving office.
Yeah.
Fong bird flu. It makes you wonder. Let's see. Not a good time for USDA to be without an inspector general. She tended to stay at after the White House terminated her Friday, saying she didn't believe the administration had followed proper protocols.
Yep.
Bird flu, leaping between species, 67 people. That's ironic. 67 people.
Yeah.
White House defended firing a Fong. The other inspectors, these rogue partisan bureaucrats have been relieved of their duties. So, wait a second. Hold on. Where did
I'm looking for
when
it.
did she have all the chickens whacked, choked to death, as it were? Fong bird flu killing chickens. I want to make sure if I'm going to see record chicken deaths, but all right, when you find out, let me know, because I don't want to blame Ms. Fong for the death of chickens inadvertently. We try to be fair here on the Daily MoJo. We do have a guest coming up in the second half hour of the program today. An old friend. I say old, he's our age, but he and I go way, way back. And when I say way back, I mean all the way back to playing Dungeons and Dragons in school, in high school. So we'll talk to Robert LaBella, the original Babalabala.
Yep.
Coming up in the second half hour of the program after we hear from Phil Bell. First, though, a message from the president for Iran, just in case they have any ideas about offing him, as our own government had tried to do.
Why say that you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why. Lack of intelligence, perhaps. But he never said.
The dude is so matter of fact when he says that stuff. He's not even grinning.
he's not.
He means it.
No. Yeah. Guy's probably just not smart enough.
Lack of intelligence, perhaps. I don't know.
That if that happens to a leader or close to a leader, frankly, if you had other people involved also, you would call for total obliteration of a state that did it. That would include Iran. So I'm signing this, and it's a very powerful document, but hopefully we're not going to have to use it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Common sense right there. Hopefully we're not going to have to use it, but we're signing it. It's common sense. And why not? And why was it okay when Biden suggested that there wouldn't be a Nord Stream pipeline? You know, if Russia did whatever I can't even remember what the threat was in response to. And of course, if Trump does anything, they will, they'll lay this at his feet. Well, he's the one who said it. They never said boo about Biden referencing the fact there wouldn't be a Nord Stream 2 pipeline if Russian crossed whatever yellow line we drew in the sand. After which, of course, we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline.
Yep.
How does anybody even question that? I mean, that's just so Common sense it took a 4-year vacation. It truly did. But it's back, and we're very happy about that. Quick look at the crypto markets. Bitcoin down a bit right now at $98,132.38. Ethereum is, they're all down. The top 5 are down at $27.91. XRP Ripple 253. Good time to buy. Not trying to influence your decision, but it's a good time to buy. Let's see, was it 9 of the top 10 are down, or 2 of the top 10, I guess, are down. Now, if crypto is an I don't trust government investment, what does that say? Are we starting to trust government more? If they're all,
I heard a crazy
8 out of 10 are
story.
down?
Well, I heard a crazy story about the government and crypto yesterday, and that all of the money that was being funneled, i.e., the money that didn't get to Ukraine and stuff like that, ended up in the crypto market for these politicians to be able to funnel out of there.
Say that again. That
the money that didn't make it through USAID into the Ukraine, that he's saying he didn't get, the $100 million of the $175 billion or $100 billion, whatever, was the story I read was that it was funneled into crypto so that it could easily be funneled back to the politicians or members of USAID so they could pocket it. But I don't know how easy that is to do.
If there was a way to do it, they found it. I mean,
crypto seems like a reasonable way to do that.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. But if that's the case, then shouldn't crypto be up if demand just went up?
Well, think about how much Bitcoin has gone up in the last 4 years.
Yeah. Well, think about how much it's gone up in the last 15 years.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, it's
a
been
lot. But
an upward trajectory.
So maybe it's been happening for years. They're sure raising a stink about it being closed.
Oh, USAID? Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's the number one indicator that they were using that for underhanded shenanigans is how absolutely bonkers everyone, not just on the left, the rhinos as well, the deep state, the bad guys, we'll just call them, lump them all into one nice little basket. But the bad guys are all freaking out over USAID being squeezed.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious why they're upset. In the Rumble chat room, and by the way, if you would like to be a part of the program, the hashtag to use is what I learned today. Damn it with beaver, they are destroying our protein. First the cows fart too much, now the birds have the flu. It's about control. That makes sense. The boy Blob, I like how Waffle House made an official statement about egg supply, stating they don't know when the shortages will end, like we expect anything from them besides a late-night brawling venue. How many fights have you seen at Waffle House?
Me, none.
I've never been to Waffle House. Well, you've never been. We're going. Let's make a date. We are going to go.
I'm bringing a camera.
Well, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that means we'll have to bring women because somebody has to hold the camera.
Somebody has to hold the camera. We can do a live,
but we have
there.
to do it at late.
They'd let us do a live feed from there.
If they don't know we're doing it, how are they going to stop us?
That's a good point.
Right? I'm telling you, you're in for a treat. It's going to be fun. Missy 13, Kraft is going to kill me. I have to check my emails right now. Why? Crafting Freak says it's statements like that make Trump effing awesome. If the GD forbid did take him out, I'm sure Vance would turn their country into a parking lot and salt the land.
Wow.
People are not effing around, are they? Let's see. Lep says, happy, whatever Wednesday, everybody here in Mojo Land. Freebie 38's over there. And on the X, what have we got going? Yes, indeed, Stinky Biscuit, you are correct. It has been 6 years.
That's fun. Yeah.
6 years that Doc Thompson decided to go for a jog, and 6 years to the day that I first heard the term key man insurance.
Yeah, that was on the show that day. I remember.
Was it?
Yep. Y'all talked about it early in the show, and then y'all had that discussion. You know how you used to sit outside the studio in the two chairs?
Well, I remember it being at the big conference table as we were
after we tried to find Doc.
Yeah, trying to find him.
Yeah, we had talked about it on the show several times, Key Man Insurance, but I thought you had. I don't remember.
Was that God's way of telling us, thumping us on the head, going, "Boom"?
Maybe.
Hey,
yeah,
stupid, boom. Which just for anybody who's wondering, no, we didn't have it.
Had you not heard of Key Man Insurance before?
No, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about insurance.
Yeah,
or tranches. Right, two things that
you didn't.
Since you came into my life, that's all I ever hear is tranches and Key Man. But
yeah,
we still don't have Key Man insurance.
We still don't. Yep.
If I go out and get hammered, you're toast.
Yep.
Good luck. Good luck in the industry. You're going to need it. But anyway, it's been 6 years since Doc Thompson went for his little jog, and it feels like a lifetime ago, and at the same time, it feels like it was just yesterday.
Yeah, because
Really
because the memories of that day are so distinct. I mean, I remember almost everything after 3:00 that afternoon.
Do you?
Crazy.
I remember little bits and pieces, but
well, it was the phone call I had to make that sticks in my mind. That gives me the PTSD.
Dead people aren't much fun.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So anyway, it's been 6 years. It's pretty amazing. What's this? That's what is he holding up? Hang on a second. Let's see if I can put this over there. And let's see if it cooperates. If I stick this in here, how does that? When I stick that in there, does that work for you?
Yep.
Apparently it does.
Wow.
What?
Was that? It was a bar of soap or cookie or something.
Well, that would explain the. If it's a bar of soap. Who's the old fat guy in the background?
That would be you, Chuck. But I really, really loved that studio. That studio was designed by Brad Staggs, folks. That was a fantastic studio.
That was a studio designed by the studio committee.
Of one.
Later dismantled, and they put it together backwards downstairs.
Yep, they sure did. Yep. Upside down, actually.
Upside down and backwards, and then they couldn't figure out why nothing fit. And does it even still exist over there?
Not that I know of. Yeah. I haven't been there in a couple of years. Yeah.
All ended up in a landfill somewhere. But in any event, it's hard to believe it's been that long, while at the same time, it feels like it was only yesterday, which just goes to show you never know.
That's a fact.
What the day is going to bring. Isn't that the truth?
Yep.
Which is why, if at some point today you decide you're going to, just be more prepared than you were when you woke up, head over to preparewithmojo50.com and you start your prep supplies. You get your emergency food supply. It's a 4-week food supply for less than $200 on sale this month at preparewithmojo50.com. And again, it doesn't have to be a tornado or a fire or a flood. It could just be bad cash flow month. You still got to eat, even if you have crappy cash flow. And this is a way just to make sure that you and your family never go hungry. Pretty simple. It's again, the perfect time to save $50 in this case for a 4-week emergency food supply at preparewithmojo50.com.
If you're offended, you're listening wrong. The Daily Mojo.
All righty. See over in the Daily Mojo chat room, Patrick G. I was in Southern Maryland on a business trip. Trump had given his State of the Union the night before. I got up and left at 4 a.m. to make a 4-hour drive so I could be home to listen to Doc's take on the speech. I was a little late when I fired up my computer. Couldn't understand who they were were talking about until they did a recap. I was devastated. Oof, think you were. Ooh. Huh. That was the year I discovered Lexapro. Let's see. Damn it with Beaver. That picture is when he had my cookies. So glad I sent them into him.
There you go.
Right? Do we still have any of those cookies left?
I don't think so.
Almost all of the USA AID workers across the globe have been placed on leave. 10,000 employees of the United States Agency for International Development. Did I know that was what it was? I know it's been all over the news, but I never stopped to think. Agency for International Development.
Sounds like a money laundering outfit to me.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, it just... But this goes back, and this goes back to Lend-Lease. You know what Lend-Lease was? I think it still exists. It was part of the World War II deal. And let me pull it back up just to make sure that I don't screw it up. But this also is one of the reasons I believe that, because we've asked the question before, why does the United States have military bases around the world? But you don't see any other foreign countries having military bases here, right? You don't see Sweden with a...
No.
Surely we have do you think we have a base in Sweden? Military base in Sweden. Yes or no? You think we have a...
No. I think we have a consulate, but I don't think we have.
Let's see. This is a piece in this is Aviation Week, December 23. Swedish bases to be open to U.S. forces. U.S. Armed Forces will have access to Swedish air bases as part of a new agreement between the two countries. I'll bet we'll know is Robert. But anyway, the Lend-Lease deal, it was a law that was passed in 1941, again, the World War II era. It allowed the United States to, like what we've been doing with Ukraine, give it aid, either supplies, weapons, money, without officially being engaged in the war. That's what the Lend-Lease concept was. It could provide aid to countries that were considered vital to its defense.
I.e. us providing missiles, stuff like that, or even for Israel.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, I mean, you could argue Ukraine, is that vital to our defense?
Look, Ukraine's not a NATO country, or are they now? Nope. Yeah. So why did we get involved over there? Is it because we thought Russia was bullying them? No, I get it.
That's been... Communism has been the reason that we got involved in Korea.
Yeah.
The reason we got involved in Vietnam. The Bay of Pigs.
Yeah.
All of that. It all has to do with communism. And that was the boogeyman for decades. Then, of course, it became terrorism in the early 2000s. And, back in the 40s, we had a different mindset as the citizenry of the United States, I think. I mean, reading all of I wasn't around. We should ask Jeffy. He was, I think, 57 back in 1941. But we had a different mindset as the citizenry of the United States. We were, it seems anyway, now having not been there, I don't know. But it seems like we were all a lot more cohesive as a population, that we were all about, defending the country. And there were some people, I'm sure, who protested the war and who never, didn't want to be involved. And there's some controversy as to whether or not our government knew in advance about the attack on Pearl Harbor. And whether or not, they could have prevented or stopped the Japanese, or at least headed them off at the pass, as they say. hang on a second. Let me bring this picture up. Getting U.S. into WW2. Because if you start looking, let's see if that is the, shoot. Hang on a minute. Truman. Thank you. Perfect. I just had the I had the image early. There it is right there. Well, no, that's not it. Well, but here's the idea. This is Truman in 47. Everybody, you see it, and they do this to this day. You know, the president signs something. There's a bunch of people standing over his shoulder and smiling. Look at, and there was one of the president signing Roosevelt in this case signing the World War II. You know, getting us into World War II, and the people behind him just smiling, and you're thinking, I wonder if what they do for a living. I mean, aside from being in government,
fact,
did they make tanks?
Yeah,
war is good for business.
Did they own steel companies? Did they?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's good for
all
business.
That. So, you know, again, looking back on all this, it's hard to say. The Lend-Lease Act was passed by the Senate passed it in 1941, March 8th. The president signed it 3 days later, March 11th, 1941, and it allowed us to send aid to Great Britain, the Soviet Union, China, Australia, New Zealand, Poland, the Netherlands, Norway, and Latin American countries like Brazil, Peru, and Paraguay. Isn't that interesting? The Soviet Union and China. Because of the fascist bastards in France and Germany. Again, time wounds all heals, and vice versa. But back to the USAID story. 10,000 employees have been placed on administrative leave as of last Friday. 2/3 of these employees work overseas in 60 countries. Any direct hire personnel across the world will be placed on administrative leave as of midnight-ish last Friday, or Saturday technically. The only exception is for designated personnel responsible for mission-critical functions, core leadership, and specially designated programs. This is, again, DOGI was not created. Well, we know why DOGI was created. They say it was to, streamline government with new software and new procedures and make it more efficient.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not what it was. It's designed to get in there and gut these...
Shake it all up.
...departments and hopefully just plain old get rid of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the Department of Education and such. And again, they are freaking out. This is Ayanna Presley. Have you seen any of these freakouts?
Oh, yeah, the one with Elizabeth Warren yesterday. I think Mac Truckface Maxine Waters was standing there.
She's still, she's standing there next to Ayanna Presley in this one.
We will see you in the courts, in Congress, in the streets. Elon Musk is a Nazi Nepo baby.
He's a Nazi. That's Nacho Cheese. But he's a Nazi Nepo baby. Let's see, this other one. This is Representative LaMonica McIver. She is a representative from New Jersey, the 10th district. She's got a really nice meltdown face with Maxine Waters, Ron's favorite love child, standing right next to her. Are you ready for this? Because, and man, these women's voices,
they're so loud.
Great.
Yep.
On your last nerve, the sound guy. I don't know if we should shoot him or if he was having just as tough a time as we are.
We will not take this. We will fight back. Fight back. Fight back. And as I close out, because I know we've been out here for a long time.
Yeah.
And goddamn it, shut down the Senate.
Did she say the city or the Senate?
The Senate. That's what I heard.
It doesn't really matter.
At war. Anytime a person can pay $250 million into a campaign and they be given full access to the Department of Treasury of the United States of America, we are at war.
Would this be insurrection?
Yes.
Asking for a friend. This is, and somebody came up with the brilliant suggestion to, and I love this because we get to mute the sound, watch Maxine Waters and tell me she doesn't look like a ventriloquist dummy. Just watching her mouth when it moves. She does. She looks like a vent dummy. The mouth, every time it moves. Somebody has got their hand really far up her rectum.
Man, don't get me
Ron,
started.
is that you?
No, it is not me.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
The responses to this are Fabu. Anybody think Auntie Maxine looks like a ventriloquist dummy? She says yes, yes, yes. Sounds like some big screen TVs finna be liberated. Yup. Let's see. How is this not an insurrection? Paging AG Pam Bondi, who was confirmed. Shit. Representative MacGyver, oh no, you're going to take this and a lot more. Trump is just getting started. Honey, you better eat your Wheaties because you haven't seen anything yet. White guys in the back just for effect. What is this? Bish, sit down and shut up. The only thing you're shutting down is a buffet. People have really had it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
People have had it up to their eyeballs with being...
Misty came out yesterday. I was watching that on the news, and Misty looked at me and she said, you know, Republicans would never do this. And I said, hell no. We're not out there acting like freaking idiots.
Well, not only that, but when Robert LaBella and I were talking yesterday, he brought up a really good point about what he thinks is going on. And obviously, when we start talking to him, we'll discuss that. This is in Glendale, Arizona. Protesters against ICE mass deportations. These are illegal. They are breaking the windshields of police cars, causing chaos. Shouldn't they just be, should we round them up right there and deport their ass?
Yep.
Seems like a good thing to do, doesn't it? Deport them now. Get rid of them. I mean, that's a simple one. And they've been kind enough to all gather in one place to make it a whole lot simpler for us to round them up. We talked last week about, I think it was last week. I'm pretty sure Ron doesn't seem to remember it, but last week when the ICE raids were happening in on the left coast,
yeah,
and it's KCBS radio out there in San Francisco, or Frisco as they like to be called. One of the reporters from KCBS got out there and started broadcasting basically the locations of the ICE paddy wagons and where the ICE vans were, giving the illegals a heads up. And we at the time said, well, isn't that interesting that KCBS is, part of the Odyssey Radio Group, which is now majority owned by George Soros and company.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be considered aiding and abetting the enemy?
That's what they're being, FCC launched a probe into that station specifically.
As they
to find
should.
out, to find out if that's what they were doing.
This is this Brendan Carr in this interview? Yeah, this is Brendan Carr. He is the FCC commissioner, discussing what hopefully the FCC will be doing of it, and they will also, by the way, not be celebrating DEI along with the DOJ. Wrong button. Here we go. I said wrong button. Here we go.
See Commissioner Brendan Carr as chairman of that agency, saying that Commissioner Carr is a warrior for free speech and has fought against the regulatory lawfare that has stifled Americans' freedoms and held back our economy. He will end the regulatory onslaught that has been crippling America's job creators and innovators and ensure that the FCC delivers for rural America. Brendan Carr joins us now. I'm particularly interested in rural America. What are your top three, besides that, top three to-do items if you get confirmed?
Yeah, thanks so much, Dana. And I want to start by expressing my thanks and appreciation.
I believe he was he confirmed, or is that still to be?
And to President Trump and to congratulate him again on his historic election victory. I mean, it's one for the history books. If you think about it, from the lawfare that he overcame to literally being shot, not just shot at, but being shot. And for me, as I go forward, the first thing is to get together with the president's team and make sure that I 100% understand his agenda. After all, it's going to be his administration, and it's going to be his agenda that people should be pushing. From my perspective, there's a couple of top issues. Number one is looking at tech censorship. Free speech is...
He is, in fact, the chairman of the FCC as of January 20th. So
it's the bedrock of our democracy, and there's been this unprecedented surge in censorship over the last couple of years, and we need to restore Americans' First Amendment rights. Number two is to look at our approach to media. Jeff Bezos just recently did an op-ed where he said that Americans don't trust the news media.
Nope.
He said now they're the least trusted of all. And I think he's speaking a lot of truth there. So I think the status quo, particularly when it comes to legacy media, needs to change. And three, we have a real opportunity to get the economy going and creating jobs. When President Trump came in 2017, we were behind the eight ball when it came to communications policy. And he turned things around, and that's exactly what is going to happen again. We need to free up more spectrum. We need to do permitting reform. You talk about rural broadband. That's the key there. And number three is the space economy. I'm down here in South Padre Island right now. There's going to be another Starship launch later today, and it simply cannot take longer to move permitting paper from one desk at an agency to another than it does to build and launch these rockets. So we're going to unleash America's private sector again.
All right, so those are the goals that Brendan Carr put forward in the interview with Fox News, which was before he was confirmed. He now is the FCC chairman. So we'll see if because they fast-tracked the whole George Soros thing, the whole Odyssey buyout by George Soros and company. They fast-tracked it so that he would have, 200 radio stations, I think, 200 radio and TV stations across the country. And he's doing with them just exactly what we thought he would.
What we thought he was going to do. Yep.
And use them for, now they'll say, well, that's what the right does with all of the conservative talk. But the thing is, I don't think we're seeing conservative talk stations out there outing ICE pickup vans. At least it doesn't, haven't seen that yet. While we are seeing stations like KCBS telling illegals where they are.
And what type of vehicles to look for and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you know there's also a way, and ICE is using the phones that were given to illegals as they came across the border. They're using, however, there is also, I'm not going to, a smart person would know how to find it, but there's also a way to monitor whether or not ICE is near you. That's
interesting.
Yeah, so it goes both ways, as they say. Pete Hegseth also made another big change over at the Pentagon. He has kicked out the New York Times, NBC News, NPR, and Politico. They no longer have office spaces inside the Pentagon. They have to be out by Valentine's Day. The outlets that will be that have been invited to, move into the offices there at the Pentagon for 1 year are the New York Post, OAN, Breitbart, and the Huffington Post, which is progressive. So they've been invited. They hadn't even applied and don't even have a Pentagon correspondent, but
they will
said
now.
They'll take it.
Yep, they will now.
Fair enough. Same thing with the White House press room. Now that they are, they have new media there in the White House press room. So, did you think that we'd see change this fast?
No, I mean, we were watching TV yesterday, and I told her, I told Misty, I said, Trump is basically taking no prisoners. He is doing, and I've had this conversation before too. Had Trump done a subsequent or a consecutive for a second term to his first one, this wouldn't be happening. He'd still be stuck in the quagmire. The fact that he had 4 years in between to plan and think and do whatever, that's why this is happening like it is.
Yeah,
he wants to show the American people that he's trying to do what he said he was going to do, what we all voted for, and he's leaning on that mandate. That's what they're calling it, a mandate from the American people, and he's leaning on it hard,
big time.
But now he's got Bondi. Now all we need is cash and RFK and Tulsi and rock and roll.
However, he's also using things like executive orders that may be a bit concerning.
Big time, yeah.
That's what we were upset with Biden for doing, but is it necessary? We'll get into that and other topics here in just a second with when Robert LaBella joins us.
When is he supposed to join, by the way?
Soon.
Okay. I just didn't
But
know
in the
what time
meantime, 8:40 Eastern.
Gotcha.
Did I say in the meantime yet?
Yeah.
In the meantime, here is Phil Bell and his morning update.
This is Phil Bell on the Daily MoJo with your morning update. Today, I'm going to take a little break from politics to talk a little sports, and that is to recognize the passing of former MLB commissioner Fay Vincent. Now, I, like many, consider Vincent to be the last true commissioner of Major League Baseball, and it's important to remember the circumstances under which the position of commissioner was created. Long ago, baseball had faced an incredible gambling scandal, and the commissioner was created to hold both the owners and the players accountable. And throughout their years, most of the commissioners really did this, including Fay Vincent. Vincent not only helped to make the game better for fans, but he also held important owners and players accountable. He was responsible for the work to ban Pete Rose. He also banned George Steinbrenner. As a result, however, he found himself at odds with his bosses, who were, of course, the owners in Major League Baseball. And as a result, in 1992, he was fired. Now, I believe that we as fans and lovers of the game truly missed out on an opportunity for something great had Vincent been able to stay. After all, he believed in getting rid of the DH, and while I never liked the idea of trying to impute my thoughts onto those who have passed on, I believe that he certainly would have gone a different direction than baseball has in recent years, where they've made a lot of rule changes designed to make the game more interesting to people who aren't going to watch it anyway. I miss Fay Vincent, and I'm very thankful that we at least had the opportunity to hear from him in interviews, books, and otherwise after his tenure ended. So, Fay, thank you so much for all that you did for the game, and we hope there are green pastures, green signals, and lots of great baseball for you wherever you are now. So, what I hope you will do is download the Daily MoJo smartphone app and enable notifications. That way you'll be up to date on the latest craziness and good stuff that comes out of Washington, D.C. and your local ballpark. What I also want you to do, in the comments, let us know your favorite memories of baseball and how you like to enjoy it. And finally, thank you so much for choosing the Daily MoJo, and we will see you down the line.
Phil Bell's morning update is only on the DailyMojo.com. Where political correctness comes to die. The Daily Mojo.
I figured out what's going on, by the way.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, he's got his camera and mic turned off. Robert, turn all that on. We need to be able to know you're there. There you go.
He had it muted.
Yeah, I see you now, Robert. Just hang tight.
He was just trying to be a good
He was, but it
good
didn't
little
show
guest.
me that he was online, so I had no idea he was even there.
He's stealthy.
He is stealthy. I hear that.
That
I
is
hear
what
that.
his entire business has been. It's been about stealth and about security. So
I do have him
he
now.
got
so,
you,
yeah.
even though he's retired. Well, let's just bring him in. And let me, by way of introduction, Robert LaBella and I have known each other. Well, look at you. You're all cleaned up and everything. I did wear a collared. I wore a collared shirt just for you.
I'm impressed, actually.
And
I appreciate it.
And I glued my tooth back in so that I wouldn't look completely hillbilly on you. So that's another. Let me just read really quick here. Billy Eagle said, "I really hope this weather stops. I'm so sick of cold and snow." That wasn't. Where did it go? I was going to read a tweet here, but I've lost it. Anyway, Robert LaBella and I have known each other now for how many years? 40.
I got to be like 45 years, I guess, or 44 years, something, a long time.
Golly.
I mean, it's been since middle school, right?
I believe so. I think so. I did this morning. Don't kill me.
No.
No. I found two pictures this morning. Here's the first one. This was in the yearbook. You were voted, I think this was it was either this one or the other one. You were voted most likely to succeed.
Right.
Which I think you did. And what was this one about? Was this being a student body?
I think it was a student body thing. Yeah. And a little quote above says something like, "I wanted to give my time to help the school become better." I don't know. I kind of figured it was one of those things where at the time you had to check the boxes to get into a good school and all that. So the student body was more like a social club.
Yeah, it's funny because even in the yearbook it said something about a lot of times they had to have the meetings more than once because there wasn't a quorum, which means nobody showed up. It was a big social club, but you were very involved, and Robert was the smart one. You were salutatorian, weren't you? Weren't you one of them?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that was the one year they decided that they weren't going to have multiple valedictorians, and I got chosen to not be one, so I was a salutatorian. But in hindsight,
I was too. But the difference between me and you is that you actually took classes that required you to think and be smart. You ended up going to, and I took auto shop. And by the way, it was easy to get an A in auto shop. You got to go out and get donuts and stuff. But you went to UC Santa Barbara after that. And long story short, you ended up in the, was it the security field? I mean, what did you founded Minerva Engineering? Tell everybody what Minerva Engineering was.
So I don't know if you remember, but when I was in high school, and we were in high school together, I got in that gifted and talented program where I worked at NASA during my sophomore, between my junior and senior years. And after that, I worked at the Air Force Flight Test Center. So I was around technology and the military and defense contracting and all that. I mean, I ended up in California in the first place because my dad worked on the B-1 bomber program, and he got a field engineering job transfer from New York out to Lancaster. And so when I got out of college with my degree in physics, I naturally just got into the defense world, right? I worked for a number of defense contractors in and around the DC area. And like my first couple of jobs were working directed energy weapons, and for doing stuff for the Navy.
Space lasers.
Exactly right.
Space lasers. Okay.
Yeah. No, I spent time at Livermore Labs, and a lot of the stuff that's now being deployed, that's stuff that we were just kind of messing around with, and it's just starting way back in the late '80s, early '90s. So like when you look at the Preble, the USS Preble, which has got it's a 60 kilowatt laser on it. We were doing big lasers, and it was interesting. It was fun and that kind of thing. somewhere along the way, I kind of got it in my head that, well, I want to do my own business. I'm ready to kind of do that. And I was working in systems engineering, and I had this crazy dream one night. And kind of when I woke up, I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start my own company. And I stayed home from work for a couple of days. I wrote a business plan and all that. And the idea wasn't about really like, be the best engineering company or build the best computers or whatever. It was more about I wanted to create a company that I wanted to work at and that people would want to work at also. That was really kind of the fundamental principle. Mm-hmm. The fact that I had a lot of experience in satellites and space lasers, as you say, and stuff like that, just kind of focused me in a certain area. So, we started off trying to be the defense contractor that companies would want to work with. And, we thought we'd go the subcontracting route until a rather rude awakening happened. And we realized we got to change things if we're going to succeed here. And so I didn't originally start in the security business. Minerva started as a general DoD contractor.
You said something to me yesterday that it kind of brought back memories. You said, I was a Reagan guy, and going back to politics in the 80s, I wasn't really into politics at all. And again, the story about going to Boise State, and I realized that when I got there, that Boise State was all about politics, and I realized I hate politicians, and so I, got the award for least participation. In retrospect, you should have gone. You would have been great at it. I mean, I don't hate you. You're not a politician, but but you know how to play that game. You know how to the politics of politics, as it were, and life is politics. If we look around now, it wasn't so much that way back in the 80s, though. And when you said you're a Reagan guy, I liked Ronald Reagan. Why was he such a likable president? Why was he? Do you think he was such a good president in our view?
That's really interesting questions. I mean, at the time, I was too young to really understand all of the nuance. So I think what attracted me to him was his sense of humor and kind of his disarming way of talking to people. And I felt like, this is somebody who I could relate to, even though he's the president of the United States. I don't know that there was even a thing about shared background or experience, but I like the idea of a strong America. I like the idea that we're an example, that our founding principles mean something. And that was really important to me. And it's continued to this day to be a really critical kind of thing in my thinking about what are those founding principles? Why were they so important to the founders? And, how do they reflect on us today? And, what would Thomas Jefferson say if he showed up on my doorstep and asked about how are things going? And you think about guys like Reagan, who were not politicians, not originally, although I guess you could argue through SAG, he was the president of SAG and then became governor of California, that he became a politician. But he always had that other experience that kind of made him relatable, and I like that.
You remember they used to say that he would fall asleep in meetings. That they dogged him for being old. He had that famous quote in the debates, I'm not going to hold my opponent's, I can't even remember who the opponent was. I'm not going to hold my opponent's age against him because the other guy was younger. But do you remember the criticism that he got at the time for being old and saying he couldn't pay attention and he would fall asleep in the meetings?
I remember that. Yeah. I mean, how things have changed.
Yeah, I did. No kidding. I mean, it's weird to again have been alive because now we're kind of the old wise people, which is really strange to think about because so much time has passed under the bridge. But it's weird having been alive during the Reagan years, and he seemed like he was more universally popular. I mean, and I don't even know who the Democrats were back then. Like when we were in school, I couldn't tell you who was conservative and who was liberal, who was left and who was right. it wasn't such a delineated subset of people then. Am I remembering that right?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think the other thing is we didn't castigate people for having a different viewpoint. Like, we didn't cut them out of our lives or try to cut them out of our lives. We just kind of realized, well, everybody's kind of got their thing, and that was normal. Like, I grew up with a whole host of friends that had different viewpoints from mine, and we even sometimes argue about it, but it was never important enough or significant enough as part of our lives. And I think what's happened is people have begun to say, I am my politics. Like, you can't separate out their personality, who they are as individuals, from their political belief system. And so that's, I think, is part of the polarization we're seeing right now is we've kind of forgotten that we're all kind of people.
Here's the thing, when you and I were discussing it, and I said we all need we need to learn how to get along, and you said something I thought was very wise. We don't need to get along as much as we need to be tolerant. We don't need unity, I think is what you said. What do you mean?
So, you know what? When we were chatting yesterday, it came back to me what it was that I said. What I said was, we don't really need to be unified as a nation. We don't all need to think the same things and believe the same things. What we need is a common sense of satisfaction with the state of things. That, well, I'm providing for my family. I've got security. I've got good jobs. My streets are safe. Some kind of very basic, fundamental things. We have to kind of generally be satisfied with that. And what I'm concerned about, of course, is that the extremes on either end are so vocal and so loud. It kind of drowns out the vast majority of us. I think are kind of in the middle, and we have some just basic needs we want to make sure gets done. And so I don't mind there being differences of opinion. I mean, in fact, that's where great ideas come from. The diversity of thought is the real diversity that we need.
Right. Yeah, and that's funny. Ron, are you napping?
No, I'm here.
I didn't want to wake you up.
I'm here.
Sometimes Ron will fall asleep. He's a lot like Reagan was back then. No, but Ron's often said that is that most of us are right in the middle. We're not far left. We're not far right. We just want to go to work every day. Well, we don't want to go to work, and some of us are retired. But we want to be able to make a good living for our family, go on vacation, buy nice things.
And look, a lot of us that ride that middle section there can flex a little bit either direction. And because you're able to flex either direction, your mind is peaceful most of the time. But we watch the news. Those people do not have peaceful minds. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they live life.
No, I completely agree with you. Actually, we're hitting on something that is kind of interesting to me personally. Brad, you mentioned tolerance, and Ron, you mentioned flexibility. And a very short story. My wife and I were having our 25th wedding anniversary 11 years ago or so. We've been married for 36 years now. Mm-hmm. And we were down at a resort someplace, and it was kind of in the off season. So there was this young couple there celebrating they were on their honeymoon. And they're like, oh my gosh, you've been married 25 years. How did you do it? And I launched into this big exposition about communication, understanding, and being willing to put yourself second. And all this stuff. And my wife holds up her hands like this. She goes, no, what it is this is her talking. I'm tolerant and he's flexible. And at first I was like, that's crazy.
Bingo.
I was pissed off. And it was funny because she swam off after that, and I'd go over there. I'm like, what was that all about? I mean, come on. What about all this other stuff? She goes, no, Rob, you got to understand that's what makes it work is I'm tolerant and put up with all your crap, and you're really flexible. You go with the flow. And I think that's a lot of what's missing is this notion of tolerance and flexibility, in general in our society. We're too rigid, to draw lines to. I mean, I'm guilty of this too. Like I get in my positions. I'm like, no, this is what it is. But I think at some point we have to be willing to go, okay, I got to at least listen. And when you're listening, truly listening, you're kind of having your mind open to having your perception changed. And people don't want to do that, or a lot of people don't want to do that. I think that, right, like Ron, like you said, people in the middle were more willing to be in, because of a fair dose of tolerance and flexibility.
Yep.
We're willing to be moved. That doesn't mean, like, I consider myself a conservative, a traditional conservative, but and we can discuss what that actually means, but it doesn't mean kind of blindly going, I'm only going to think like the current Republican mouthpieces are telling me to think. Like, you know what I mean? It's not that way.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked on this program a lot about what it even means to be a conservative versus a liberal, versus a Democrat versus a Republican versus a progressive. And to me, the lines have been really blurred. And in the past, I guess, when I've ever had to classify myself, I always thought I'm a fiscal conservative and a social liberal. In that I don't care who or what you sleep with. I just, that's up to you. I think the government should stay out of it. The government takes too much of our money and spends it on a bunch of horse shit that we either don't agree with or don't need, or they waste it. And that's always felt comfortable to me. Now, does that mean I'm not a conservative if I don't care who or what you sleep with? Or does that make me a liberal because, that doesn't bother me? And then you got the financial, the fiscal factor in there. It's like, I don't even know where the classifications start and end anymore. You think they've changed?
I think in the popular consciousness or media, they have. Are you familiar with Russell Kirk? I think his first name is Russell. Russell Kirk was he was I think a sociologist and political scientist of the 1950s, 1960s. There's something called the Kirk Center, if I remember correctly, and he is notable for having defined like these 10 core conservative principles. And it's what it's not is as interesting as what it is. But what it's not is stuff like support the security state, support big business, that kind of, religious and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't about that. It was more like this idea that there's there were 10 principles he had, right? One of them was there's an enduring moral order to things, and that's why we are the way we are. There's this idea about, well, we like adhering to customs, that they allow us to live together in communities and stuff like that. There was something about honor and believe in things that are established in the past, like we believe in the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence, the founding principles there. There is a notion of prudence, like you got to be prudent and practical. You don't always look at something kind of in its near-term implications, but you think about it in terms of its long-term implications as well. That's important. Variety in a society is necessary because I think it makes for a healthier set of institutions. There we go. Prudent restraints upon power. Permanence and change must be recognized and reconciled. Right. That's all. I think I got them all, or at least most of them.
That was that, and you did that from memory. I'm impressed.
So, truth be told, I like when I read these books, I'll take notes in my my OneNote app, and kind of periodically I go back in and look at that stuff. But none of that says how do you feel about gay marriage. None of that says how do you feel about taxation. Right. That's a different kind of set of principles that define conservatism. And I go, that's I could see that, and those principles give you a lot of latitude in the very issues you're talking about. So, I mean,
that's fascinating. All right, we have to do as I told you, we have to create the whole here, and then when we come back in what will feel like mere seconds, I want to go back and figure out if you and I came from the same kind of family, because I think that you said that a lot of people in your family kind of wonder what happened to you. And and I'm thinking the same thing about mine, and we'll do that next on the Daily Mojo.
You're listening to the lunatic fringe of American radio, the Daily MoJo.
Wow, that image up there on the screen is from, that's 2019.
SHOT Show.
Early 2019, yeah, at the SHOT Show in Vegas.
Yep.
The most polite bunch of people you will ever meet are people who are strapped. If you're all strapped, everybody is polite. It really was a fascinating. I have not been back to the SHOT Show since, but that's also where we got in trouble because what they say that we were a morning zoo. Is that right, Ron?
Yes, they did. They didn't like the content we were providing. Wanted us to be less morning zoo and more interview type.
Which is weird because Doc Thompson was a conservative.
Yeah,
he was, but he did it differently.
Yeah, we weren't a news channel. That was what
Right.
they were looking for, in more interviews and stuff. But we did our morning show from there for 5 days. Yeah.
Then it got kind of loud on some days, but it was fun. Wisconsin Jackhole on X says you two could be brothers. Talking about me and Robert, maybe brothers from different mothers. And Robert LaBella and I, again, have known each other for 110 years. On his lower third down there, Ron wanted to put something really serious.
I didn't know what to put. And Brad
you wanted
gave me
to
this.
be all serious and stuff. And I said, no, I did. And on Robert's LinkedIn page, it even says retired company president at none.
It does.
And I'm like, that's perfect.
You know what? When I retired, updating my LinkedIn profile, there's no thing that just says retired, or at least there wasn't at the time. It required me to put in a new company. And I'm like, none. And that's how it stuck. So no, I retired from Minerva Engineering.
Yeah, I looked that up. You actually you sold that bad boy, right? You sold it to was it Mantech? What was the name of the company that bought it? Mantech.
That's correct. Yeah,
and
it was a
and
you know what?
It
was a great thing.
Did they? Is it still exist? Does Minerva still exist, or is it just rolled into Mantech now? And
no, it's rolled into Mantech. We at one point became the largest small business by contract value at the NSA. We had work elsewhere too, other Intel agency community, Intel community members, but that was really our biggest, where we became our biggest source of revenue and participation.
So you were technically a spook. You were technically a spook,
I mean,
huh?
It's an interesting world. It was it's an interesting world.
Uh-huh. What can you tell? What's the weirdest thing that you can tell us? What's the weirdest thing you can tell us about something you saw? Anything?
The weirdest thing? Oh, the weirdest thing is that they have company stores in all of the intelligence community facilities. Like you go in and get T-shirts that say NSA or CIA, and I thought that was the weirdest thing. If you're looking for something juicier,
you mean the clandestine operations have shirts that you can wear to tell them you're a part of the clandestine operation? That's nice.
You know what? I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who actually worked there that wore that stuff. But like a relative, you give it to your relatives. Like, hey, here's a cool hat from the NSA, or pin. I did have lapel pins and stuff like that. But
do you watch Lioness?
No,
I watch Lioness on. All right, so it's and Ron, you watch it, right?
Oh yeah.
Remember when I don't even know what the agency is that Nicole Kidman and Zoe Saldana all work for, and it's elite special troops and special forces, and they go into a meeting with like the CIA and the NSA, and the NSA and CIA all have their coffee mugs that say NSA CIA, and Nicole Kidman's character makes the comment, "That's brilliant, a clandestine operation with their own coffee mugs." Kind of is an oxymoron, and I thought she's right in that sense.
So what was
makes
interesting
sense.
was, it didn't used to be like that. I mean, I had my NSA coffee mug and my CIA coffee mug over here too, but I can't reach it, otherwise I'd show you. But remember that changed during George Bush's administration. He wanted to have a kinder, gentler intelligence community kind of thing. And what's funny is the street signs outside of Langley, like all of a sudden there are signs that said, "This way to CIA," CIA headquarters, or here's the big sign out front. Even the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office, like that. When I was growing up in that business, like even admitting that organization exists was really taboo.
Right.
Like it was, and now there's a big sign and there's a Starbucks there and everything. It's wild. Yeah.
It is kind of weird because, again, going back to when you and I were in high school, the Skunk Works and Area 51, Brian Peck, Brian, and his cousin worked at Skunk Works, but it was kind of hush hush, and they would go to Burbank every Monday and get on a plane with blacked out windows and fly into where we now know Area 51 is. And, they get out of the plane, et cetera. But things back then weren't talked about like they are now, which is good and bad, I suppose. But I had a conversation with, I forget, he's in the Air Force, and he was the head of, anyway, he was a big muckety-muck in the Air Force over at Brian's parents' house. And at the time I was doing a series on UFOs for the Nashville Network, and I asked him about Tom Pugh. That's who it was, Colonel Tom Pugh. And I said, what can you tell me about UFOs? And he looked at me and he was dead serious. And he said, if I told you what I know about UFOs, we'd both be dead. And I thought, that's interesting. So what can you tell me about UFOs, UAPs?
I can't tell you anything about UAPs that I don't have any special knowledge from my time, working in those agencies. I'm sorry. I mean, remote viewing is something that's kind of related. I could talk about that. That's I mean, a lot of the documents that were one time very highly classified are kind of out in the open now on the internet. You can just look them, and what you can see is this remote viewing thing is real. Anybody can be taught how to do it through protocol. Not everybody's good at it. It doesn't work all the time, but it does work, and we don't know why. And it's
have you seen it? Have you seen it work? Have you witnessed it?
Not in person, but like Joe McGonigal, I think he was remote viewer number 1 from Project Grill Flame back in a long time before it became Stargate. He has done a number of shows and things, and he's still pretty active, as I understand it, in helping to find missing persons and stuff like that. So I haven't seen it personally, but it's a subject I'm very interested in. I did have a funny encounter once. We were at the agency working on something, and then I was in a meeting. Everything runs by meetings. And before the meeting, you chit chat with the people there, and there's a guy there that I didn't recognize. I didn't know who he was. Nice enough gentleman. And we got to talking. He said, "Well, what are you reading these days?" And I went, "Oh, I'm reading this book about remote viewing. It's this thing and blah blah blah." And I go, "Oh," he says, "That's interesting." After the meeting broke up, an hour and a half later or whatever it was, he comes up to me, gives me a piece of paper, and he says, "Here, if you're really interested, call this number." So, me being me, I called the number, and the guy answers the phone. Contractor 60432 or whatever it was. That's how they identify that. You're talking to a contractor. And right. I said, "Hey, my name is Robert LaBella. So-and-so gave me this number." And he goes, "Don't call back." And he hung up. That was the end of it.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah. I was like, okay. Here's my wife didn't want me to get involved in that stuff anyway. We dealt with some crazy stuff as it was. That's more mundane. She's like, "Don't you start getting involved in that. That stuff, it drives people crazy," and all this. And so it was pretty funny.
Could get you killed.
I don't know, Brad. I almost asked him for the number. I was like, me and Brad will call it.
Yeah, I'll call it. Let me at it. I'll call it.
I hate the number.
To see what they say. It's I'm going to go back to the family thing because were your parents? I mean, your dad worked on the B1, but were they conservative? Were they Republicans, Democrats? Did you even know at the time what they were?
That's a really good question. I generally think they were Republicans. I know my dad had what I would call traditional American. My dad and mom both had traditional American values, right? The family was really important. You have a civic duty, a civic responsibility. I mean, some of those things about we were just reading from the Kirk Center, those 10 points. Like, my dad lived that way, and he, the Boy Scout oath. He was a Boy Scout through and through. He was more Boy Scout than any Boy Scout I ever knew. I mean, so I would say, yeah, and I was aware of that. And as we got older together, and my parents moved kind of around us as we moved around the country. So we were like-minded in that regard. And he wasn't as facile with information systems and stuff as he got older, so he couldn't do the kind of research the internet allows us to do now. But yeah, he was conservative.
Right. See, I don't know. Mine, half the time I thought they may have been, but in retrospect, I may have been the product of two crazy ass liberals. I'm just not sure. I know the rest of my family, my sister, Obama supporter. And I don't know. So I don't know how I ended up thinking the way that I do, because I liked Reagan too. We did live in a bastion of conservative businesses back in the Antelope Valley in Lancaster. I mean, remember thinking that if there was a nuclear war that was going to break out between the U.S. and Russia, we'd be one of the first to go because of Plant 42 and Rockwell and Lockheed all being right there. We figured, we'd go in the first wave. And maybe that's why the people around us all seemed, for the most part, I'm trying to remember, did they seem conservative? I don't remember any crazy, what I would call lefty behavior back then. Again, it just wasn't as obvious.
Different. But no, I don't know about that. I mean, think about the hippie culture of the late 60s and 70s, the free love, all kind of thing. That was a pretty clear delineation, I wasn't into that. In fact, you'll laugh at this probably, but I love music, and I play the guitar terribly, but I love the electric blues, and I was into the Beatles and stuff like this. But you wouldn't catch me listening to AC/DC or Black Sabbath or Iron Maiden or even Led Zeppelin. So because those druggy guys, that was not my thing, right? Well, I realized how much I hurt myself by missing out on all that awesome music, and it was stupid. But that was another, way in which we kind of drew lines. It's different now, of course, right? I mean, and don't you think that?
But I loved AC/DC.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't. Not so much. Well, I did. It's funny because while you were working hard and learning stuff, at one point in 10th, 11th, I was a student aide in one class, and at lunch, I went out with Kendall Kane, and we got high at somebody's house at lunch. It was the only. It was the only B. Let's see. I got 2 Bs in high school. One of them was in citizenship because I had an unexcused absence because I came back late from lunch because I was stoned out of my mind. And so I was late getting back to class. And so, but still, I liked Reagan. I mean, I'm this walking contradiction of what you would think a conservative / Republican is. And maybe that's why I question my own identity.
Well, we're looking at it from our lens where we are now, and having had, 40 years since then, 45 years or so of experience, right? And it's different now. Like there's all the, sociologists or political scientists will say that the United States has gone through 4 or 5 shifts in what it means to be of one political party or another, and that we're in another right now. But just look at the last election. Like the Republicans suddenly became the party of the everyman and the middle class and the blue collar worker, we're not the elitist snobs that the left had tried to paint us out to be. In fact, it's the reverse, right? So what standard are we measuring it by? It was different back when we were in high school.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot here in that it's almost like the roles have been reversed. because it used to be back in the 60s and 70s that the Republicans were, big government, if I'm remembering correctly, and the left or the liberals or the Democrats were the hippies and the anti-government group protesting everything, protesting the wars. And now here we are realizing that, the wars, at least from my perspective, the wars that we have been involved in it's a bunch of horse shit, especially when you look at Ukraine and, other wars that we've been involved in the last 10, 15 years, whether we've been acknowledged as being participants in the war or not, and as big government opposition. I had a guy bite my head off when I was doing a shift over at WBAP because I kept saying that we were the anti-government crowd now. And I thought, am I anti-government? I know we need government, but government has been so corrupt and so, what's the word I'm looking for? Tyrannical, I guess, in the last couple of decades, that I really do. I find myself being very, very wary of government. And you said it was the COVID thing that made you start shifting and thinking of things differently, right?
Well, so, it was interesting. Yes. I grew up like you did, thinking the government is looking out for us. They have our best interests at heart.
Yep.
I kind of understood the traditional, like the St. Augustine. His philosophy was, and people like Martin Luther and stuff like that, about the role of government is designed to, allow us to provide some rules so that we can live in a peaceful society together. But that that kind of a thing. And when and I was part of the industry, like I was in at the agency, I was in the NSA. My company was and stuff. And, what I began to, there was nothing about what I saw there. Like I know a lot of people like to say, oh, there's a record low trust in the intelligence community and all that. And I understand how it got there. But I didn't see that. Like I saw people really working hard at every political stripe and every background you could imagine to keep Americans safe. Mm-hmm. And like, you'll never know some stuff that would turn you blanch at it. There's things you'll never know about, because well-meaning people are trying to protect America and our allies and Americans around the world. But What started happening was in COVID, and even with Trump, I read Greg Jarrett's book, The Russia Hoax, right when it came out, right in the middle of Trump's early administration, and I realized, wow, the DOJ, the intelligence community, or parts of it, I should say, the FBI. Boy, these guys are purposely persecuting this guy over politics, like that. And what we're being told even true? And then you start to find stuff out. Like I had an inkling. We kind of knew something was going on in early 2000, late 2019, I think it was. We knew that something's going on in China. There's something going on. And by early 2020, I was telling my wife one night, hey, there's something going on. I don't know what the deal is, but it's going to get, and then with hindsight, you look back and you go, Fauci sat in those meetings in early 2020 when this was just becoming a thing. And he knew. We have from emails, we have all this stuff and when you think about how he muscled and Francis Collins at the NIH and, I guess it was Redfield at CDC, although I think he was really resistant to that. I think once Rachel Walensky got in, she was on board with Fauci's plan. But anyway, you go, my God, these people all knew. And I just saw this thing from Chip Roy, who I'm not a huge fan of, but I know who he is and I follow him. And he showed how USAID was funneling money into EcoHealth Alliance, who ended up at the Wuhan virology lab and stuff. You go, holy crap. So that's not the word I'd choose. Holy crap. What is going on? And those things all contributed to me developing this growing sense of what do we believe? What can we trust? And then you see in the media, they would just lie outright. And things you'd know from various either personal experiences or other sources, and who do the institutions you depended upon to keep the government in check, like Congress, like the media, or the institutions you trusted for your knowledge. How do I keep my family safe? Well, the CDC says wear masks, stand 6 feet apart. That was all BS. It was all made up crap.
Yeah. It really was. All right, I need to create another hole here, and then I want to go into the what have we been taught that is a lie, and we'll do that next on the Daily Mojo.
The Daily Mojo.
A quick check-in over on the Daily Mojo chat room. Hey, E1 Guru. Let's see, Deb's over there. Well, throat is better. Tension headache at the moment. Thanks for asking. Curtis, sorry you're not feeling well. Over in the Rumble chat room, they're drunk. I've never seen anything like it. Beautiful. I'm kind of clueless. This is my first time on this stream. Metal Mouth 2874. Welcome. Give us a month. Missy 13. Yes, we are dumb, but like Beaver said, I'm honored. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. Welcome. Talking with my my old friend, Robert LaBella, the founder, creator of Minerva Engineering, now retired company president at None and Nunya, former spook. And you, like, I think a lot of people had their eyes open during COVID and the Rona. Do you think that the scamdemic, as it's been referred to, was created for political reasons? Do you think it was an accident that got out of hand? What are your thoughts reflecting back?
I think there's I'm not one to believe this is some vast conspiracy that the Star Chamber has decided we need a virus to wipe out 70% of the world's population so we can get to some utopia. I'm not into that. What I think is money is power, and power is its ultimate the ultimate aphrodisiac. And I think that the ability to move money around and exert your power and authority is important. And you could say the same thing about the climate crisis, this alleged climate crisis, where in retrospect, looking back, I think people like Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins, perhaps others, and Peter Daszak at Eco Health Alliance, they had a philosophy that said, incorrectly, I believe, that, boy, if we don't study these advanced viruses and make them ourselves, when they pop up randomly in the world, we're not going to know how to fight them. I think that's a bunch of crap. I think this is about money is power, and power gives influence and makes us feeds our ego and our narcissistic cluster B personality types. And I think it just got out of control. These bioweapon labs, I guarantee you, they have problems all the time. And that's a level, Wuhan is a level 4 or level 5 facility, I think. I forget. Something like that. They're supposed to be one of their top. Accidents all the time. I mean, people are people. It happens here in the U.S. too. And, that's some scary stuff. And I think it just got out of control. And then the cover-up was worse. If they had just come right out and admitted it, we could have moved faster and not caused so much upheaval.
And so it kind of falls under the never let a crisis go to waste umbrella. And they
Right.
did. They tried to, and I think it was twofold from my standpoint. Like you said, money is power. It was an opening for the pharmaceutical industry to get in there. They probably wanted to try these new vaccines, these RNA vaccines. They're like, whoa, this is the perfect opportunity right in our lap. Let's give this a shot. Here's the chance. And people are more likely to take it, especially if we scare the shit out of them and make them believe that, this will wipe out 80. What were the initial, remember the dude in England, the scientist who was saying this could wipe out half the population. And then he came back after, after they recalculated or after the mission changed and was like, yeah, I probably overstated that.
Well, I'm surprised I'm surprised he even said that, because that guy's been wrong about just about everything. But because it was catastrophic and it fit a narrative, a control narrative, like do believe that the institutions of government, like, have what's the first rule of a bureaucracy? To keep itself in power, right? And they go from crisis to crisis because it allows them to exert their power and their authority. And this was an opportunity. I mean, dude, we gave up our civil rights. You could go to a bar, or you could go to a strip club, but you could not go to church in many places. How messed up is that? We were told there were people all over media saying, we need to lock these people. If you don't wear a mask, we need to lock you up. If you don't get the vaccine, we got to lock you up. Are you kidding me right now? Like that, the scale and scope of just how heinous this was is that, even just thinking about it gets me pissed off. But that really did it for me. I was like, okay, this is messed up. And it got me to really question everything. Now, by contrast, the operations I saw inside the intelligence community were all very, very rigidly by the book, like what you can and cannot do with U.S. persons and the executive orders that we had and laws we had to operate under. Super strict, and we were constantly being audited, and you couldn't mess around. So it was a contrast. Like on the one hand, well, I feel like I can trust these people. On the other hand, I could see with my own eyes and experience, we can't trust these people, these institutions. It's crazy.
Was there anybody that you knew in government that you had trusted, and then at that point when you started to see the masks slip during the Rona, that you went, holy crap, they fooled me this whole time? Without naming names, of course, but were there people like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had to work because of the work we did. We didn't, we had to go to work. The bad guys don't stop because there's a virus going around the world, right? And the kind of work we did both offensive, defensive, and white hat kinds of things. But there were people, especially higher up in the food chain, who allowed coronavirus to turn them into dictators. And it was kind of left to us to figure out, well, how are we going to operate under these kind of crazy rules? And what we ended up doing is growing our physical space so we could spread people out. And then we created these protocols for, somebody sneezed and you had a crew show up with, cleaner and wipe everything down. It was just crazy. I mean, the stuff you do. But we had to keep operating. We had to operate through. And, after a while it became clear, okay, this is like a flu bug. Now, I know people died from it. And I don't mean to minimize the loss and the craziness that was. Well, that's a good question. Though?
I mean, and where do we go to get that information now? We can't, because, I don't trust the CDC. I don't trust the WHO. By the way, Wade Robertson, yes, it does work. Thank you for the $1. And Missy says, do you believe they have a coronavirus and influenza shot for dogs? Do they really?
Oh.
No. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. But it's the craziness of the whole thing with even the masks that they told us to wear, even said on the box, doesn't work. Will not stop influenza or coronavirus. I mean, the insanity and the number of people who believed it is what blew us away. The number of people who were like, yep, and you still see them wearing masks out there today. I cannot conceive of how their brain works to the point they're still wearing masks. And to the point about did it kill them? That's what I was trying to remember. We don't know what killed these people. We don't know if it was the virus or the ventilators. I mean, we know people who died because of ventilators. We don't know if it was the remdesivir. I mean, we just don't know what killed them.
That's a very, very good point. Like, I think now we understand that a large number of people who died, died due to ventilator use because they were overpressurizing them or something like that. There were studies at the time that said, masks don't really work. Like, I remember there was a study from early 2000s or mid 2000s about how masks in the operating room don't actually reduce the likelihood of patient infection, that they are really the single factor that determines that is the number of people in the operating room, not whether they're wearing masks or not. And I remember, I mean, heck, there were times, I mean, I believed it at first. I wore a mask. You're walking around, you're wearing a mask, like in the office space or something like that when you're in a meeting or something. And inside it's just like, you take that thing off and it's like a petri dish. It's ridiculous. And it's leaking air in and out. And like, this is crazy. You kind of intuitively got it. Like, I'm sorry, if we're standing 6 feet apart and I sneeze, you're getting it. You're getting the particulates, right? It's 6 feet, might as well be 60 feet or 6,000 feet. It was crazy. And you're right. What do we believe?
Did they stuff up?
If they were incentivizing hospitals to report COVID deaths, then a guy who goes in with a hangnail and dies from an infection, but if he had the antigens in his body, guess what? He died of COVID. Is that all real? And how do we? Can you untangle that Gordian knot? I don't know.
And I don't think you can. We even heard the Illinois director of public health, I think she was, come out and say, if a person is in a motorcycle accident, they die because as a result of injury sustained in the motorcycle accident, we test them, they're positive for the coronavirus, that becomes a COVID death. I mean, that's insane. So the numbers that we have are skewed completely. There is no way to figure out the real numbers. And this will go down in history, I think, as one of the craziest periods in time, because there's no way to find the truth. And that takes me to the question that I wanted to ask before was, has this changed your thoughts on things that we have been taught over the past 30 years? I'm just going to start at like 9/11. That change your thoughts on 9/11 at all? Or you still hold the same views? I don't
really
even know what they are.
Not really 9/11, but our response to it. I mean, I was all in. I remember on the eve of the invasion of Iraq, right? Like we had people in the field. We had, and Americans, we all had our troops over there. They were poised like a tiger to strike, right? We're going to, kick ass and
parking
take names.
lot. We're going to,
right.
We're going to turn it into glass. Yep.
Yeah. And I knew guys who participated in, they flew A-10s during the Highway of Death episode, right? I know those guys and I talked to them. And we all were like, yeah, these guys got weapons of mass destruction. And while they did uncover sarin gas, warheads with sarin gas in them and stuff like that, and reserves of mustard gas, I think, we were told this was about nuclear weapons. We were told these guys are coming after us, this country, Iraq. And I think the general consensus is now that was all BS, that the security state fed us that line. And I want to draw an important distinction about something. Today, if I make a mistake from a political perspective or something like that, people go, "You're a liar." Well, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm just wrong. I'm not necessarily lying to you. Maybe I'm just wrong. And so when I think back to that time in the Iraq War era, I wonder, were we lied to or were we just wrong? Because I'll tell you, intelligence estimates are hard. They're hard to manage. They're hard to grow and cultivate. How do you keep bias out? It's a difficult. Trump had reason later on to go, gee, do I even trust these guys? Because as it turns out, he was getting fed biased information about things. And he pointed to this whole Iraq War thing as part of that. So things have changed for me. Like the idea of the Department of Justice has our back. I know people who work there and at the FBI, and I love these people. They're wonderful, hardworking, dedicated people. But there's something about where the institutional power is held that's become so politicized that I don't believe it. Like the upper echelons. If you ever read the book Big Intel by Michael Waller, boy, is that eye-opening. And, it's quite fascinating because he talks about how during the Obama administration, they added these layers of management into the agency, into the FBI and stuff, and how they created not a quota system, but a kind of a check-the-box approach to how a person advances their career, and you had to check these boxes. And it's one of the reasons why you have SWAT teams showing up at 75-year-old granny's houses because she was praying on the Capitol steps on January 6th. This kind of stuff is a lot of checking boxes and fear mongering, or fear, perpetuating fear and trying to stifle people's First Amendment. So yeah, my views changed. How could it not?
You think that we can get back to where we were? And I know that we talked a little bit about Trump, and we just have a few more minutes here, but you brought up a point that Trump right now has taken a page from the Democrat playbook, using executive orders and a lot of unilateral decision making, which you think is dangerous too. And I share that viewpoint, but like you said, this is we are having to fight this battle that was created by the deep state, Democrats, rhinos, again, however you want to phrase it. But his methodology for fighting back and creating change, what's your view on that? Dangerous, good, effective?
Combination of all. I think, sometimes Trump is the most frustrating person ever. The way he says things, and this whole recent thing about we're going to rebuild Gaza. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, what? But on the other hand, he's incredibly smart. Like, he seems very calculating in an intuitive kind of way. And I think he had 4 years to think about, if I get back into the White House, it's going to be different. I know what I'm up against now. The deep state isn't going to work against me like they did before. Like, I saw Lieutenant Colonel Vindman trying to get into USAID, but he was blocked from getting in. You're like, that was a deep state operation, right? Is the whole UAP or drone thing going on in New Jersey and elsewhere around the country a deep state op? Yeah, that's got that hallmarks, to use the term of artifice there that the 51 used for the laptop. And when I think about when I think about that, so I go, man, this could be great or dangerous. But I think what we're seeing is something in industry that he called move fast and break things. It's like, we've got to make big change, and everything has to be scrutinized, and they're going to use hammers instead of scalpels. And when people start to scream about various things, they'll go, well, do I really need to be spending $32 million on a transgender drag show and reading time in Argentina? I'm like, what? No, probably not. That's probably not where our money is best spent. So, yeah. So I think Trump's got his hands full. I think using executive orders, and I feel like he's being very transparent about what's in those, but it's scaring people. Like, what are the implications of this stuff? Doge was supposed to go in there and be this thing about finding efficiency, and they seem to be doing that, but that's not what the executive order said. The executive order said use technology to make them more efficient. Better software, better technology. And you're like, what? So yeah, there's a danger.
That was a bullshit cover story. That was a bullshit cover story to get Doge in there and have Elon do what he's doing. Don't you think?
I think it was, again, let's get in, break things. That's why RFK is being put forward as HHS. It looks like he's going to get it because, he says, look, we've been living a lie for 55 years or since the food pyramid of 1972. You mentioned pharma having an opportunity to come in with their mRNA vaccines and kind of, this will be the big pharma has been with us forever. Listen to Kelly and Casey Means talk about the loop between big ag, government, big pharma. You eat lousy, the government subsidizes that lousy eating, you get sick, big pharma produces things that drugs you're on for the rest of your life, and you just keep getting worse and worse and worse. And man, it's crazy. So something's got to be done about it. And I'm not a burn it all down kind of guy, and I'm not a throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of guy. I'm praying that there are people who are really paying attention on the inside who are going, okay, we got to get rid of this stuff, but keep this, or, here's how we're going to reform this and be efficient and better. But it's a little scary. It is a little scary.
I share that viewpoint. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to have known you for this long. You have done incredible things with your life. It's hard to believe that we are 45 years down the road from when we met. I mean, it's just gone by like
crazy,
that.
isn't it? Yeah.
You got to keep your hair, so that's another reason I hate you. But
You had great hair. I remember that in high school. You had great
I know.
hair.
I know.
Didn't
I
we all?
had fabulous hair. And it was, that's proof God is a comedian playing to an audience who's afraid to laugh.
No, I
And
think you
we
made a
have,
choice. You made a choice to
did
go
I?
bald because it's cool. It's the in thing.
Thank you. There's another. Okay, I'm going to take that strike against you. I'm going to take that off the board. I would really like to do this again because I think your viewpoints are fascinating, and from your inside stance, I think that people can learn a lot. And again, I think we have to go back to that word tolerance, but in a different way, and not unity. Damn it, I keep forgetting what the word you used was. It was, what was it? Ron, do you remember?
No.
Satisfaction?
Getting to, we have to be able to, as Americans, remember that we are all on the same team, hopefully, and, trying to make America a better place. We just, for some bizarre reason, half the country has a really, really strange idea of what would make America better. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. There's a whole history
And-
there of our awareness of politics is the span of our lives, but we've been around for almost 250 years. And what's happening today isn't terribly different than what happened 70, 80, 200 years ago. In fact, in some ways, it's better.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I go back and that would be fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Go enjoy being retired again. And I'll talk to you offline, my friend. Be well.
Sounds good. Congrats on your show, guys. It's a good show. Thanks, Ron.
See you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Robert LaBella, ladies and gentlemen, the original Babalabala. Creating one last hole here, and then back to wrap things up on the Daily Mojo.
If you're offended, you're listening wrong. The Daily Mojo.
Look at that crew right there.
Look at that bunch of people. Look at all of them.
I know.
I need to talk to Cal. I haven't talked to Cal in a while. Who's the fat guy in the back of the couch? You know that shirt? Actually, I wish I weighed that much right now. Man, my TV wife.
Yep.
Huh.
What is that? Carrie,
Time flies
Doc,
when you're having
Chris,
fun.
Cal, and you, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
That was the Morning Blaze.
Sure was.
Back in the day. Over in the Rumble chat room, E1 Guru, invent high fructose corn syrup because it's cheap. Put it in a bunch of stuff. Kids get type 2 diabetes. Space Hippie on Vacay. Great show, Brad and Ron. Thank you. It wasn't me. Robert is such a fascinating guy, and he lived a fascinating life, and we played Dungeons and Dragons when we were in high school, and he was a smart one.
How did you not end up in the clandestine services? That would have been fun, right?
Actually,
we don't know if you did or not. You won't divulge.
Yeah, I mean, if I did, I couldn't tell you.
You'd have to kill us all.
So this could be an elaborate cover.
It could be
for my life as a spook.
Yep.
Wade Robertson, I saw that, and I know, right? But yeah, he's just a fascinating guy. He had a fascinating company that he started. And did I show the other picture of him?
You showed two of them. Yeah, that one.
This one right here. This was extremely bright, well-rounded students. They're both aren't too worried about making it after high school for this reason. Class of 1982 students most likely to succeed. Exactly. I will say, here's something funny because he said, he listened to the Beatles and all that, and not, like AC/DC and stuff. That sticker on that attaché case is a modified sticker from 95.5 KLOS, KLOS out in LA, which was a rock station. So obviously not his briefcase if he wasn't listening to AC/DC. And I didn't like Black Sabbath either.
No.
But I loved AC/DC.
I did.
I think of who else? Bad Company back in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. Fog Hat, Bad Company.
Fog Hat. What?
I mean, these are.
I know who Fog Hat is, but what did they sing? I can't. Is it The Boys Are Back in Town? The Boys Are Back in Town. Who was that? The Boys Are Back in Town. That's Thin Lizzy.
Thin Lizzy.
Aside from The Boys Are Back in Town,
Slow Ride was the big
Ride.
one that I played on the radio back in the day.
Let's see, 1981 top songs. Lionel Richie. There's some hard rock for you.
Yeah.
A Woman Needs Love Just Like You Do. Ray Parker Jr., Slow Hand, the Pointer Sisters. Let's see, what were the top songs in rock in 1981? Blue Oyster Cult, Burning for You. The Stroke, Billy Squier. Loved Billy Squier back then.
Billy Squier, yeah. Yeah.
You Better, You Bet. The Who. Yep. Start Me Up, Rolling Stones, Foreigner. Yep. Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. The Breakup Song, Greg Kinn Band. Yeah. Journey. Love Journey. The Moody Blues. I got burned out on the Moody Blues. Mainly because at KGIL, the station I worked at in LA, we had an automation system. And the automation system, you could embed information onto the carts that we played. And there was a printed log of all the commercials that ran so that you could, charge people for it. Back then it was all paper. And to start each broadcast day, the song that would play at midnight was Nights in White Satin because it had all of the information encoded on it that told the printer what to print out for the start of the day, like the starting form. So I got so sick of that song. But now I kind of have a new appreciation for the Moody Blues. And is it the Moody Blues that was, 10cc.
Oh, I vaguely remember that.
Big Boys Don't Cry. Be quiet. Big Boys Don't Cry. What song is that?
Yeah, they whisper it going out, if I remember.
Yeah. But that was the chick that I watched a documentary on that, and that was the chick that was like the front office receptionist at the recording studio. And they're like, we need to do something different here. And we just need to have her say, big boys don't cry. So like, come on back here and say this into the microphone and not in love. Not in love. Yep. Don't forget it. It's just a silly phase I'm going through. Don't ever forget that 10cc, the name of the group, is the average ejaculate for a human male.
That's fantastic news.
That is why they named themselves 10cc. So you're welcome. Try to get that one out of your head.
Nope.
No pun intended. This was posted by Citizen Free Press. Put it over here. Hang on a second. And it says it's attributed for whatever reason to J.K. Rowling. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. It might even say in this video. But, well, just take a listen and a look and see if you agree.
Riley Gaines and Sia Leahy are in hot water over their transphobic comments, and I just gotta say, who cares if biological males play in women's sports? Just be inclusive.
Could not agree more. This is just a bunch of fear-mongering from right-wing bigots.
Right?
just going to say it. She's a bigot.
She's been a massive distraction from her team with her hate-filled rhetoric. Sia is not inclusive. And males invading women's sports isn't even a problem, as far as I'm concerned.
These female athletes just need to work harder.
And not blame others for their lack of success.
Transphobe.
As the captain, Sia is very much responsible for these boycotts, which have cost her team a playoff bid.
Guess we'll see how Sia handles all that pressure tonight.
Isn't that cool?
That is really, really cool.
Real Girls Rock.
Wow.
Again, posted by Citizen Free Press.
Riley Gaines in it. Saw her there.
Yep.
A couple of times.
That, what's her face from Louisiana? The other chick? The gymnast. Who does the Viore? What the hell's her name?
I cannot remember her name.
Cute little thing.
But yes.
That was her?
Yeah.
Okay. How did we, again, get to a place where we're even debating whether or not biological males should compete with girls in women's sports? I don't get that. I mean, it just seems so cut and dried to me. It truly does. Strangely, on that note,
yeah,
I did want to call your attention. Let's see if I can put this over here. We found out yesterday
this is
that
sad.
we lost another family member.
This is freaking sad, dude, because we had no idea.
No.
I literally, I looked at my emails, Brad. I literally had an email back and forth with her right at the end of the year.
Robin Patty, who is a member of the Daily MoJo family, transgender female, escaped this mortal realm on January 5th this year, reminding us that no one gets out alive. She lived an unusual life, but lived it in her own terms. She was born a male in North Carolina, moving to Virginia with her family until 6 years of age. And at 17, joined the Army National Guard while a junior in high school. It's thought she may have done this just to get to play with guns and get someone else to pay for the ammo. At 18, she moved out of her dad's house in Virginia and in with her mom in North Carolina. She was given a high school diploma. It goes on to say that she liked jumping out of planes, and it was because of this one day in 1992. She discovered that jumping out of planes and hitting tall trees and hard ground can really hurt. Became paralyzed from the waist down. And she says, in lieu of flowers, there was no funeral. In lieu of flowers, donate some time or money to a dog in need or a shelter that takes care of wonderful animals.
The last thing I did for her, Brad,
no idea,
was a pet memorial, granite pet memorial for her recently deceased friend, and she placed it. She wanted me to wait until she could place it at her new home and new shop, which she had just completed.
Just built.
Yep.
Don't know how she died, but we're going to miss Robin and her sense of humor. And I did leave a comment over on the tribute page.
It was kind of a brilliant comment, actually.
And I said, we're going to miss Robin's spirit and attitude. She had balls.
What do you mean it's last call?
With that, that is 2 hours of craziness, audio deliciousness, and the rest. Absolutely. That's why I wrote it. Yeah. Known as the Daily MoJo for today, Wednesday, February the 5th, the year of our Lord 2025. Find out if you learned a damn thing. Crafting Freak, to be fair, some real girls rock and some are total bitches. Yep. I totally agree. Yes, Missy 13, that is our friend Robin. The one we asked if Jessica knew Robin.
Yep.
You know, because they're both trans, and don't all the trans people know each other? No,
well,
but because
they were
both
Rangers.
paratroopers.
Rangers, yeah.
Yes, and that was the reason. Crafting Freak says, Doc has been up there 6 years looking down at us screaming. And now Robin's standing there screaming as well. Space hippie on vacay. Rest in peace, Robin. Indeed. I want to know what's going to become of her pew-pews. Just raising a hand if anybody's looking to get rid of them. Peekapool says, Brad played D&D. Now I need to know what character class he liked to play as. Usually a damsel in distress. Yacht Rock is the shit, according to Disrespectful Whiskey. And James says, how did real Brad Staggs not end up in the class innocent services when he was younger? Drug test.
I missed that cue, by the way.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Remember that we the people must hang together, otherwise we shall surely hang separately. Sic Semper Tyrannis, resist, stupid. And damn it, Doc, wherever you are.
Watch and listen at thedailymojo.com.